Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. I'm reading the New York Times and the Washington Post. This is official. This is not my opinion. From a political perspective, Trump has won the Fulton County and Georgia trials. If the Washington Post and the New York Times and the Guardian and others are talking about or are actually quoting the prosecutors stating that the trial will stretch into 2025, he has already won the case. This was supposed to derail Donald Trump in 2024. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is huge, especially with the revelations. The Trump curse is real. So this was before the Trump curse struck yet again, and we found out of potential extramarital affairs and all that. I mean, you look at bureau officials that were fired, you look at DOJ officials, you look at state-level officials now. There seems to be a great many extramarital affairs, potentially or possibly or allegedly. To read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Federalist, other publications, go to hagoodman.com. This is absolutely huge, ladies and gentlemen. I might be the first person to kind of put two and two together. The case is done. He regains the Oval Office and the case will be done. Because the DOJ, the special counsel will be over, but he'll have more at his disposal in terms of evidence. And already, if you have an ethics violation or if you have misconduct or possible corruption on a state level with prosecutors or with certain prosecutors who shouldn't have been put on the trial, that's a huge issue. The Trump curse is, I'm being, facetious somewhat, but it's real to a great extent. Because when you focus only on trying to take down Donald Trump, if you live in a glass house, well, then you shouldn't throw stones. Hit subscribe, share this everywhere. To my super thanks, I should say. The super thanks is below next to the like and the share buttons. And to my new Patreons, thank you. Your support is so greatly appreciated. The case is pretty much done. There is no case against Trump. Now, a whole bunch of people who have been indicted have had their say in court. Many have been given fines and probation. This is not anywhere close to Watergate. This is purely political in nature. To wonderful, morally superior, highly educated liberal Democrats, it's the rule of law and democracy. To the rest of the universe, it's blatantly partisan, especially when you have obvious graft and bribery schemes with Hunter and Joe and a laptop and hundreds of millions in transactions and financial transfers. And so consulting is one thing, business is one thing, free enterprise is one thing, but graft and bribery are something completely different, and we have the emails already. There's one email asking Hunter for influence. The influence being, of course, Joe, and Joe getting part of the money within those emails. And then you have the financial transactions. I mean, Chuck Grassley, Ted Cruz, they all have that information. So when people say, oh, well, we don't know if Joe benefited, it's there. Grassley and Cruz and all the Comer and Jim Jordan, they have all that evidence. They're likely waiting until November or close to November. So mashed potato brains will get impeached. But, nobody really cares about Trump owing $250 or $300 million or whatever, $83 million for a defamation case that most Americans don't understand or know about. Nobody really understands what took place there. This is in New York. Trump will lose forever every single trial in New York, likely overturned with the New York Supreme Court or the possible U.S. Supreme Court. If he gets convicted in New York with the hush money, it'll be overturned by the United States Supreme Court, just like the United States Supreme Court will overturn the 14th Amendment nonsense regarding Trump and a rebellion. Trump did not engage in a rebellion. You have some you do have high-profile liberal or left-leaning YouTubers saying it's the definition of a rebellion. No, it's not. With people opening doors? I mean, you can't, what? With nobody armed? It's like, what do people think was going to take place? That Trump had no contact with people committing crimes, and that is a rebellion? When you had that summer, and I agree with why people demonstrated peacefully, but we had billions of dollars in property damage that summer. And one day where there was criminal activity after a speech Trump gave, and then on the other end of the building, people were let in by law enforcement and by officials there. That's not a rebellion. That's not civil unrest. People getting let into a building is the antithesis of a rebellion or some plot to overthrow the country. Again, if you're a highly educated, liberal, left-leaning YouTuber, people being let into the building on camera, several people already, one in particular already acquitted, is the antithesis. It's the exact opposite of what a rebellion is, or what somebody trying to overthrow the government is. But anyway, if it stretches into 2025, what is the point of this? The whole point is to ensure that Trump gets convicted in a key swing state. It shouldn't be. It's a red state. Georgia's a red state, primarily, or even the Democrats are conservative generally in Georgia on many issues. But the thing is, you have a red state in Georgia that Biden barely won. Okay? And now you have an economy, inflation, interest rates, a foreign policy, and a southern geographic region of our country in turmoil. And Trump is up 4 percentage points nationally. He's even up in Michigan over Biden. And so if this case is not concluding until 2025, and we just found out, I'm not even giving you this Washington Post article was published in November. This is, I believe, before the revelations regarding certain prosecutors. This was before, let's say, the what they might call the Trump curse took place. So then Trump lawyer says no Georgia trial if he wins. So there you go. It's not, you have to ask yourself, when Trump is indicted of crimes, are these the same type of crimes found in Hunter's laptop? Because you pretty much know, see, what Democrats do all the time is they pretend that the real issues are something else. So they say, well, why do you want to see somebody without their clothes on? Well, that's only part of Hunter's laptop. There's also illegal narcotics. Okay? There's also a whole bunch of unlawful activity. And there's also information on Joe meeting and working with people who want influence. And there's literally discussion of influence. That you have more evidence within that laptop and within their financial transactions than you ever did with Trump Russia. And then they call Trump a traitor. It's like it's already been proven there was zero connection he had with the Kremlin when it comes to some kind of grandiose plot. Okay, Bill, Hillary, Biden, Hunter, they all had far greater connection to the Kremlin. Okay, only President Obama could have vetoed the sale of U.S. uranium capacity. Do you understand? Democrats could preside over an actual uranium sale, and then Democrats is just fine with that. It's a commodity. Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Trump presided over 20% or so of U.S. uranium capacity sold eventually to the Kremlin, and then the people involved in the sale gave to Trump's foundation? Could you imagine? All they have was a dossier with Trump, and all they have is accusations that he tried to overturn results. He went through the courts. So the Georgia case is officially a political win for Trump, especially with what's taking place now. There's not going to be a trial before 2025 if now we find out that prosecutors were having potentially corrupt interactions. We'll leave it at that. Hunter-esque interactions. So, I mean, don't go after Trump. A word to the wise. Don't go after Trump if you have skeletons in your closet. because they will be unearthed if you try to go after the Orange Menace, the Obi-Wan Kenobi of politics. Hit subscribe right now.